Hello everyone. So today we are going to discuss about conditional statements. So let's start with what are conditional statements. Conditionals are used to execute a certain section of code only if some specific condition is fulfilled, and optionally execute other statements if the given condition is false. So we provide the computer with the condition, and if that condition is true, then the if code is followed. Otherwise, the else code is followed. Also, the result of given conditional expression must be either true or false. No third option we have. Now let us see the variations of conditional statements. So we have four variations here. First is if, second is if else, third is if else, and the fourth one is nested if statement. We will look at these conditional statements one by one. So the first is if statement. So what exactly is an if statement? If statement evaluates the given test expression, that whether that test expression is true or false. If it is evaluated as true, then the statements inside the if block will be executed. Otherwise, these statements inside the if block will be ignored, will be skipped. Let us see the syntax of if statement. So we write if, and then in brackets we write the test expression, which will be either true or false. And if it is true, then in parentheses we write the statements to be executed only when this test expression is true. Let's move further and look at one example. Alright, so here is one example code which says int main, this is the main area of the code. So int n equals to 5. Now it is saying that if n is less than 10, cout, that is print, inside if statement. So we know that n is 5 here. So 5 is less than 10. So this statement will be printed, right? And if and then this parenthesis is closed, this if block is over, and now we have this print statement outside if statement and then next line. So it will also be printed because it has no condition. So this is the output that we will get. Okay, so summarizing the if condition. So if the condition given inside if parenthesis is true, then statements inside if block are executed first and then rest of the code. Works? And if the condition evaluates to false, then the statements inside if block will be skipped, will be ignored. Alright? Okay. So next we have if else statement. So the if statement evaluates the given test expression that we already know from the if statement, right? Now if it is evaluated as true, then the statements inside the if block will be executed, that we already know. Otherwise, statement inside the else block will be executed. This is the new thing here, which is the else block. After that, rest of the statements will be executed normally. Let us now see the syntax again. So if, then there is a test expression. So if this test expression is true, then the statement inside these curly brackets will be executed. Otherwise, if this test expression is false, then these statements inside the else block will be executed. Let us also see the example for if else statement. So here is one example code where we have a equals to 10 and b equals to 20. Now, if a is greater than b, that is 10 is greater than 20, which is a false statement. So the code inside else will be executed. That is print b is bigger. So we have the output as B is bigger. All right. But if A was 30 and B was 20, then 30 is greater than 20 and we will get the output as A as bigger. That is, statement inside the if block will be executed. Okay, so now we have the next type of conditional statement, that is if else. So using this, we can execute statements based on multiple conditions. Let us see the syntax for this. So here we have if test expression 1, that is, if the test expression 1 is true, then statements written inside the if block will be executed. But if the test expression 1 is false, then we will move further to else if condition, that is test expression 2. Now, if this test expression 2 is true and test expression 1 is false, then the statements written inside test expression 2 if block will be executed. Now, if test expression 2 is false and test expression 1 is also false, then we will move further to test expression 3 statement. And if this test expression 2 condition is true, then the statements written inside this else if condition will be executed. Otherwise, the else statements will be executed. If the else statements are getting executed, it means that all the conditions written above are false. Let's move further and see a example code. All right, so here we have A is equals to 2. Now, the question is, if A is less than 3, now 2 is less than 3, so it will print 1 and all this other code will be ignored. So the output is 1 here. Now, if A was 5, then if A is less than 3, so 5 is not less than 3, so we will move further. Else if A is less than 10, that is 5 is less than 10. So we print 2 and get the output as 2. Now if A was 15, then we would have gone further to this else if statement, that is 15 is less than 20, and we print 3. So we get the output as 3. But if A was 45, which is not less than 3 or 10 or 20, then the code inside the else block will be executed and we will get the output as 4. Alright, so summarizing this, out of all block of statements, only one will be executed based on the given test expression. All the others will be skipped. Alright? As soon as any expression evaluates to true, that block of statement will be executed and the rest will be skipped. And if none of the expression evaluates to true, then the statements inside the else block will be executed. Okay, so now we have nested if statement. In this, we can put another if-else statement inside an if statement. Let us see the syntax. So, the outer conditional statement, that is, if test expression 1. Now, everything written inside this conditional statement will be executed only if test expression 1 is true. Now, the first commented thing, statements to be executed when test expression 1 is true, will be executed irrespective of the nature of test expression 2. Whether the test expression 2 is true or false, it doesn't matter. Moving forward to the inner conditional statement, that is, if test expression 2 is true, then the statements written inside the inner if conditional statement will be executed. Otherwise, the statements written inside the else block will be executed when test expression 2 is false and test expression 1 is true. So here is the example code. Int a is equals to 15. So we know a is equals to 15 here. And if a is greater than 10, this is one condition which is true. Then inside this, there is another conditional statement that if a is greater than 20. So if is 15 greater than 20? So the answer is no. So we will execute the statement written in the else block, that is print high. So we will get the output as high. Let's move further. Now if a was 25, so it means 25 greater than 10, which is true. And then again 25 is greater than 20, which is also true. So we will get the output as hello. Now if the value of a was 5, then this condition a greater than 10, that is 5 greater than 10, will be false, and this code will never get executed. So our output will be empty. We will not get any output. Alright, so let's have a quick recap of whatever we studied. So first of all, conditional statements are used to make decisions based on a given condition, which is either true or false. Conditionals are used to execute a certain section of code only if some specific condition is fulfilled, and optionally, that is the else option, execute other statements if that condition is false. Then we looked upon several variations of these conditional statements that are listed here: if else, if else, and nested if statement. Thank you.